Some of my other videos talk about techniques you can apply to ride a unicycle. But to be honest, that stuff probably will just come in time if you practice enough, or if you made enough mistakes. Your body can eventually click with the nitpicky stuff without too much detailed attention, and if you set yourself up for success with the right methods, which we're going to talk about today. I've tested some of these tools to see if they're, in theory, worth your time and effort if you're looking to learn how to ride a unicycle. I'm not giving any of these tools a grade because I think it's really worth the effort to listen to the pros and cons and make a decision that you think will work best for you. I really don't care if someone else did something that worked for them. That's great, and depending on what it is, it might work for you too. But let's make this more personal, just for the fun of it. Also, if you've never touched a unicycle before but want to learn, I'd recommend playing around with it yourself if you feel comfortable doing that before taking any advice from me or other videos. You can never go back to a place where you don't know something. So this is the opportunity to organically learn without external biases. You have some tools at your disposal to help aid the learning process along, and they're pretty common. Some might be in your backyard already. So let's describe what these tools are, why you would use them, how, and some other stuff to keep in mind. Curbs are actually one of the best tools to help you learn how to ride a unicycle. Here's the issue. When getting on the unicycle, you want it to stay still. The way to do this is put one pedal all the way down and step on that pedal. This crank position is called the dead zone because the foot on top, the one that's going to apply force to turn the wheel, needs to apply it going this way. But the foot generally only pushes down, and there's no component of down that translates to this direction, so the wheel has a hard time moving. It's at a dead stop. However, when riding, you don't want the unicycle to stay still. You want it to move because you're trying to ride it. Turns out what's good for making something stay still is horrible for making something move. So you get on with one pedal all the way down, but you have to fight to get past that dead zone to actually start riding. This is where the curb really helps out. If you can place your wheel with a horizontal crank position when the wheel meets the curb, when you place your foot on the near pedal, the curb should prevent the wheel from moving. This way you can get on a still unicycle while avoiding the poor starting position when you're ready to ride. Any curb would work, just make sure the wheel is resting on the curb and the curb is preventing backwards movement. And start with the cranks flat or parallel to the ground. And anything that prevents backwards movement would work, like a stump or a cinder block. Even this 4x4 lumber would work if it was shorter. Anything that's sturdy and about half the size of the wheel you're using. Just place the block under the pedal and the block itself prevents movement. Whereas the curb prevents the wheel from moving, the block prevents the pedal from moving the wheel. Either way, it's a win because the wheel doesn't move. I made this starter block that prevents the wheel from moving and the pedal from moving. If you're interested, I'll leave the video in the description. The drawbacks to this technique is it really only helps you to get going. There's nothing keeping you upright after you leave the curb, so you're on your own. Getting started is where a lot of people have trouble, and this is one solution to that problem. But when you fall, you'll have to start all over again. So just keep that in mind. This might be a little bit more advanced tool, but it's probably one of the better ones for learning. Fences, garage doors, walls, anything big, steady, upright, and long is your next tool. And this is where a lot of beginners start. I know I started in 2006 on my mother's garage door. This tool offers a steadying point while you try and ride, so if you feel like you're going to fall off, the fence may be able to save you. This way you can stay on the unicycle and continue learning without too many interruptions. To use, essentially you place one pedal all the way down like normal and step on that pedal while you hold onto the wall or fence to push yourself up. Once mounted, you can slowly start to pedal and see how the unicycle moves and how much lean you have to give. There's a principle that states lean where you want to go, meaning if you want to go forward, lean forward. But that principle doesn't tell you how much to lean forward. If you lean too much, or too little, you'll fall. But with a fence, you might be able to catch yourself and get another few attempts in before having to restart again. Now, there are 3 issues with this tool, but if you're aware of them, they're not so bad. Number 1 is people like to use the fence to pull themselves up rather than step up. This makes you swivel and twirl, which is not helpful. Instead, step up using your foot and just use the fence for extra security. It's also common to hang on or dramatically lean on the fence.
Anytime you overutilize a tool by putting too much weight on it, you're likely to start twisting around and ultimately falling. This is because you have some of your weight on the unicycle and some on the fence, and more than likely, you're leaning forward from the hips. You essentially look like this. And with your center of mass here, eventually you're going to pivot on the unicycle and start to twirl, and your center of mass is going to swing under or over these 2 points. It might look something like this. It might not be best to learn how to ride by putting too much weight on the tool.
Instead, try to remain upright, tall, and have an arm out, ready to steady yourself if you feel like you're falling to one side. This way, your center of mass is where it would be if you're riding normally and you just have the wall for security. Lastly, it's really easy with the aid of a fence to, for some reason, stand up on your pedals and get out of the seat. I'm not really sure why, honestly, but this does not allow you to relax and feel how the unicycle rides normally, along with some other issues. Try to remind yourself every so often to sit back in the saddle. This way you can get an idea of how the unicycle rides without the instability of the seat bouncing in between your thighs. Fences are things that everyone uses to start, and there's a reason for it. But just keep these tips in mind while doing it, and progress will come faster than you think. I made these out of ski poles where I just removed the sharp points and put moldable plastic on the ends. This could be a great learning tool for unicycling. Putting them out in front of you allows you to feel how much lean you need in order to move, and will correct you to an extent if you're falling side to side or towards the front. These are the equivalent of training wheels. You might lose some of the understanding of real riding, but having all the aspects of real riding thrown at you all at once is overwhelming. So training wheels will blunt that so you don't have to bite off more than you can chew. Get on the unicycle however you'd like, then use the poles like your legs when walking. Like a crutch, but opposite of crutches. Alternate moving the poles. Left pole, then right pole, left pole, right pole. You can even coordinate with your feet. When the right leg moves, the left pole moves, and vice versa. Poles have all the benefits of a fence, except you need to move them yourself. But they do go where you go. Now, aside from poles also being subject to random twirling, people tend to lean too far forward when using them. Leaning too far forward is not a horrible habit to get into. It's better than leaning too far back. But it sometimes results in a bent over posture that makes riding a little bit more difficult. Instead, try to keep your elbows down and only make small movements with the poles so that you're not reaching for dear life to gain ground. This way you'll be more upright and teaching yourself some good habits. You also have options. You can use 2 poles or 1 pole, a piece of lumber, rakes, a shovel, a useless bicycle, another unicycle.
Yeah, don't do that one.
Just be sure to stay upright, alternate moving the sticks, and move them in small increments. This could also be combined with a curb or a fence if you're feeling like that might help. Last year, I was asked to participate in a community event in Grand Rapids called Storytime, put on by the public library. The main purpose here was free-form fun, so I chose to get some small unicycles out and see what happens. But every helper item here, by itself, was probably not suited well for the audience, which was 5-year-olds. So I got my helper line for a slack line out, and that seemed to work extremely well.
A helper line is a somewhat stretchy but also tight line, a few feet or about a meter above your head that you can hold onto while you move along the path. It can be a ratchet strap, a rope, or anything that can get tight but has some give. This tool works really well with kids because the rope itself is very fun. Ideally, you keep your hands high, and if you feel like you're falling to the left, for example, take your left hand, grab the rope, and pull it in the direction that you're falling. This gives you something to push against to correct you if you're falling to one side or the other. The biggest benefit of this aid is that it's loose and free enough that you feel like you can't lean on it completely, and therefore will put more weight on the unicycle where it needs to go, but you can still use it to correct yourself if you're falling to the left or the right. People do tend to grab the line and bring it to their shoulders so it's easier to use to steady themselves. This should be avoided if possible. It could result in yet another twirling scenario. Instead, keep tall and try to use the helper line as little as possible. Having the line high up tries to force you to be tall, but that'll be useless if you bring the line down to you. Oftentimes though, in order to hook up a helper line, you need 2 trees, and in between trees typically is grass. And grass isn't the best terrain to learn on, but hey, it'll just get you ready for mountain unicycling. If you find 2 hookup spots that have pavement in between them, that'll be the most ideal. Just try not to ratchet a telephone pole down or something. Before we reveal the last, and probably what I think is the best tool for learning, let's go through some honorable mentions. I had high hopes for a bike. The goal is to pop the bike in a wheelie and toggle the rear brake to ride and hit the brake whenever you need to steady. Almost like literally riding a bike. But no, this is not a good way to learn. It takes too long to set up for repeatable attempts, and the unicycle will end up going in the opposite direction as the bike. Try to make it work if you like, but it probably won't. Although it was a pretty decent idea. This is a little better than a bike, but it has no brakes other than tipping it forward. The trash can could be a wheelbarrow or a shopping cart, but not too many people have shopping carts in their garage. A trash can is more predictable in its path than a bike and a wheelie, but depending on how much trash you have this week, the garbage might take you for a ride. However, it is more stable, secure, and it has handles to use, sort of like a bike. Although this probably isn't one of the best options out there for learning, if you think it'll work for you, get on it. Also, if you live by a grocery store, a shopping cart would work fairly well too. I'd highly recommend them. Just put them back when you're done. There's a video out there where a guy teaches to ride a unicycle with 2 stationary trash cans, ones that you would find in like a park, and you do figure 8s around them. I think this is definitely worth a shot. It obviously doesn't have to be 2 trash cans. It can be anything stable that you might be able to move further apart, ideally on pavement. But this technique offers some advantages.
you quickly get introduced to turning, you experience the natural wiggle the unicycle makes, and it's progressive so you can get better as you get better. The reason why I gave it an honorable mention as opposed to putting it on the list of tools that you should use is because I can't quite articulate, in theory, the specific issues it solves, but I think it has value. So if you have a park nearby with 2 trash cans that your community doesn't mind you moving, or if you have your recycling and trash bins like I do, go ahead and see if this works for you. That, or find some road construction to use larger traffic cones. Things Tom Like on YouTube made a unicycle starter booth out of lumber. This gets you ready to go and take off, sort of like a curb, but you can take more time preparing to take off. I'd recommend this if you're interested in building one or have a shopping cart corral laying around. Ideally, you sit in the saddle while holding onto the sides, and when you're ready to go, you're off and on your own. If you have a shopping cart corral, you can hold on as you go on either side, if you can reach. It's a double fence. I wonder if Tom can make one with rolling wheels. I try not to do this in a hallway, mostly because if you fall, you might get a pedal through your drywall or tire marks on your paint. As corny as it is, learning with another person is your best shot at learning effectively. So your best way to learn to unicycle, in my opinion, is with a buddy. Here's what I recommend. You get on the unicycle, normally, with one pedal all the way down and you put your weight on that pedal. Except your friend is in front of you, facing you, and is there to hold your hands while you're getting upright. Also, that friend is putting their foot right under the wheel, so that if the wheel moved, it would roll over their foot and smash into their shins. But the more likely outcome is that the wheel isn't going to move at all. So it's extra assurance that you can get on safely. If the wheel does come and hit you, don't worry, the wheel is rubber and it's full of air. Depending on the speed, it might hurt a little bit, but you'll likely be okay. If you want, you can grab shin guards just in case. To start riding, your friend takes their foot that's stopping the wheel and takes a small step back to give you the feeling of how much the wheel moves. But not too far back, since their foot is the mechanism stopping the wheel from rolling out from under you and you falling backwards. If your wheel does hit their foot, this gives you the opportunity to reassess your balance, get situated again, lean in the direction you want to go, and anticipate how to keep your balance while you're pedaling. Have your friend continue shuffling little by little, having one foot in front, ready to catch the wheel if it rolls out, and obviously holding your hands to use for extra balance. This is also a great way for kids to learn. You can get a lot of repetitions with this method, and it has the added benefit of having a friend switch out if they ever wanted to give it a try. Not only will that give you the opportunity to rest and reset, but you can see how the unicycle moves from an outside perspective. I try to cram a lot of different tools in this video, and I hope at least one of them was helpful. The golden rules to remember if you made it this far in the video are: try not to put too much weight into the aid or tool you're using. This doesn't form very good riding habits. Lean in the direction you want to go, and try new methods to gain some understanding from different perspectives. Riding a unicycle is just as fun as it is ridiculous, and any one of these tools can be useful regardless of how ridiculous they look. If you found something helpful, consider subscribing and sharing this video with another individual learning to ride. And if you have additional tools I didn't mention, share down below. Thank you all for watching and making it this far, and good luck.
What do you need to do?
Yeah,
I have to be in there.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So just get on.
Okay.
Yeah. So what you're gonna do is gonna put